Today we're going to be working on solving quadratics that cannot be factored by completing the square. And so first thing is to figure out, well, what is a perfect square trinomial? What does that look like? Well, a perfect square trinomial is going to have a third term. Remember, the standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c. That last term is going to be half of this term squared. So it's going to be the b term divided by 2 and then squared. So in this case, that would be half of 12, right? So 12 divided by 2 and squared. When we do that, we get 36. So it turns out that if I write this trinomial like this, x squared plus 12x plus 36, then this is a perfect square. What that means is I can write it like this. I can say x plus half of the b term. Okay, I can do x plus 6 squared. If I do x plus 6 times x plus 6, I will get this equation right here, or this trinomial. So that's how I create a perfect square trinomial. So let's try it again. So here, if I wanted a perfect square trinomial, I would take half of the b term and square it. So it's going to be negative 4 divided by 2 squared. So negative 4 divided by 2, well, that's just negative 2. Negative 2 squared is, well, that's just positive 2. So the perfect square trinomial looks like this: z squared minus 4z plus 2. Now, this is a perfect square, so I can write it like this: z minus 2. This term came from b. I just halved b, which is negative 4. So z minus 2 squared, that is this trinomial right here. Okay, it's a perfect square. It's z minus 2 times z. I'll put a cross across that so you can tell it's not a 2. Z minus 2. Okay, that's a perfect square trinomial. So let's try again with c. All right, if I want to make a perfect square, I'm going to take half of b. I'm going to take 18 divided by 2, negative 18 divided by 2, and then square it. So that's going to be negative 9. Negative 9 squared is positive 81. So x squared minus 18x plus 81 is a perfect square trinomial. So I can write it like this: x minus 9 squared. That's half of the b term written right here. That's just half of b. So again, this is x minus 9 times x minus 9. All right, so now that you know how perfect square trinomials work, it'll make it a little easier for us to solve by completing the square. So when I'm completing the square, I'm going to go step by step here. I'm going to follow these step-by-step instructions, okay? So the first thing I need to do is get it to look like this. I need to set it equal to 0 first off, right? But then I need to move this term out of the way. I need to move it to the right. So this is going to look like this: x squared minus 6x equals 72. With me so far? So step 2, I'm going to make the left-hand side a perfect square. The way I do that, well, you know, I'm going to divide this by 2 and square it. So x squared minus 6x, I'm going to divide that by 2. So I'm going to get negative 3. Negative 3 squared is going to be positive 9. Okay? If I add this on this side, I can't do anything but add it to the right as well. So it turns out I have to say 72 plus 9 on this side as well. If I don't, I've changed the expression and it won't work, okay? It's got to be that I add it to both sides. So now that I know I have this perfect square trinomial here, I can rewrite this as x minus half of b, which is 3. So it turns out x minus 3 squared is that original trinomial. And so I'm going to add 72 and 9. That gives me 81. All right. And then my last step is simply to square root both sides. We just did solving quadratics that are unfactorable by taking square roots. So now you know that if I square root both sides, let me change colors here. If I square root both sides, I'm going to get x minus 3 equals plus or minus 81. Plus or minus 81. So now I'm just going to solve that expression. It's going to be x minus 3 equals 81, and x minus 3 equals negative 81. So I'm going to get two values for x, which should make sense because what we're doing is finding the spot where the U-shaped graph of the parabola strikes the x-axis, right? We're looking for two solutions where it strikes the x-axis right there. So we're going to add 3 to both sides here. So we'll get x equals 84, okay? And then we're going to add 3 here as well. And we'll get x equals, this is negative 81, so that means we're talking about negative 78, okay? So we've got two solutions, 84 and negative 78.